of our mid lanes. We're already into the draft, though. We're already blasting on through. The Silas that we mentioned has been banned away. Lucian as a first pick. It's answered by his wife.
Yeah, immediately answered. And interesting, we're seeing the Lucian first pick because we really have not seen that much Lucian priority in recent weeks. It kind of felt like it fell off. People learned how to deal with it. It's still going to be that Lucian Nami as we kind of expect when we see it. And Summit has secured that Gnar very fast. Bans coming out, and AL, will lock in the Senna Tahm. So rapid fire here. Haven't seen really anything new, anything that's kind of changed on the new patch. But we are going in the second round of bans, and AL have a position to really pinch the jungle pool against Clid if they want to. Whereas for FPX, if there's any top laners that feel like could be in a good matchup for Gnar, also any mid laners, maybe the Swain, the Taliyah, could come up as bans to sort of thin what AL can offer.
Yeah, we'll see. The Ahri taken off the board now. So when we're looking at Care's champion pool, we mentioned the Silas, we mentioned the Ahri, Akali still available, maybe the Galio still available as well. The Galio, realistically, while Care likes the pick, not necessarily in the best spot in the meta.
Yeah, definitely. I think the big thing that hurt him was the Predator changes that made it so it's less movement speed early, because that's kind of how Galio played. You took Predator, you just made sure you were there. Whatever the skirmish was, whatever the wave state, you're just always there in the fight and really strong. So definitely did trim some power from him. Now, AL do ban away the Lee Sin. There is still that Viego open and available. And FPX, banning away the Swain and the Jax, very much signature picks, I feel like, for AL solo laners.
Yeah, we'll see where AL are going to go with this one. The newly buffed Taliyah, why not, right? When it's just had an increase in its power, when you've already played this a reasonable amount across the course of the split. As well, a couple of games already locked in on that Taliyah for Forge, and it certainly fits that style of roaming into the skirmishes that we talked about for Forge earlier.
Yeah, and honestly, it makes it very difficult for the Lucian, because if you ever, try to dash forward, if the Unraveled Earth comes out, you're just going to get stunned up. Hard to be in range, do effective damage against what AL has. So, and this is one of the reasons we've seen the Lucian Nami struggle. I don't think this is an easy comp to play into. Now, FPX considering their options for jungle and mid here. They opt to go for the Trundle, so something that really will do well in the skirmishes early against the Wukong. Obviously, the Tahm Kench is a fantastic target to ult. And now looking at a mid lane here, I do feel like the FPX composition is quite short-ranged. And, going off that point I made about the Lucian, I think that might be a bit of a hindrance later on. So I wonder if they want to take a bit more range in the mid lane. Looks like they're going for the Viktor. So he is not the longest range champion, but kind of able to, really function reasonably well regardless. And now AL have to kind of pick up the response here to solidify that comp.
Kind of interesting to see that Viktor as well. Not something that FPX have played so far this split. But up towards the top side here, the Gnar, kind of the safest blind pick that we've seen in LPL so far this split. But Camille, one of these picks that has been historically picked up, and it's a pick that is extremely comfortable for ZDZ. We've seen ZDZ lean on the Camille pick. He's got 6 Camille games this split, which, when you think about it, Camille not really pinned that meta, but then anyone's legend have not really shown that they care that much about what everyone else is playing.
Yeah, I feel like AL just lean into what works for them. And ZDZ had some fantastic games in spring, even though this team wasn't performing the best, at finding these great engage angles in team fights. And when you have a Camille, you look at the fact the enemy team has Viktor and Lucian, this pick is going to be very effective at locking them down, allowing the follow-up. And honestly, I feel like FPX, the Gnar is definitely a strong lane, but I'm not really convinced by the composition as a whole. I feel like they need to find momentum in this one with the Lucian Nami. They're going to struggle in team fights a bit into what the enemy team has to what AL has. And also, we talked about Care being this super active roaming mid laner, likes agency, likes to be there. He's playing Viktor into Taliyah, so I don't see that really being the case. So, FPX, the expectation is they come into the start of the game quite aggressive. That's normally how they play it out. They really need to here, but I'm not sure they've set themselves up with the best tools.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I've just had a little look at Care's stats, by the way, on this Viktor. I had a look at his historic stats. Now, he's played Viktor competitively 3 times ever and has almost a 10 KDA on the pick. He's got 3 wins on the champion. Now, granted, these were last year in spring, and they were in the LDL. So I don't want to oversell this thing, but certainly a competent Viktor here for Care, despite the fact we've not seen it in the LPL so far. But an aggressive bot lane, as always here from FPX, and you can anticipate that they will be wanting to put their best foot forward. But like you say, Viktor mid, not really their usual style.
Yeah, and, you know, Lucian Nami fell out of favor, it feels like. Durability changes hurt it, but then since then, there was also the nerf solutions Q, and it just feels like, you know, if you don't win lane with this combo, you really will start to struggle. It can dominate if you take over the game and get ahead, but again, I still think it might not be the easiest game to do so. So for me, focal point will be this bot lane. That's where I'm looking. That's where I want to see things happen, and where FPX should be looking to try and get a lead for themselves. You know, if QiuQiu oversteps in the lane, Trundle shows up, that pillar can be a great tool to shut him down.
So I want to get your take here, Aux, before the game properly kicks off, because I feel like a lot of people are starting to say that AL may be on the cusp of a losing streak. Their schedule going to become very difficult for the rest of the split. Where are you sitting on them versus FPX, a team that had a very difficult schedule to start things off? I feel like for both teams, this is somewhat of a middle ground.
Yeah, I feel like I rate AL higher than FPX, but I don't think there's much in it, being honest. I feel like FPX have looked better. You know, actually, I feel like AL are better to a degree, but I still think the thing is, like, AL are fifth in the league right now. Do I think they're the fifth best team? I don't know. It's hard to call at the moment. I feel like that's the thing, is like the end of the split, we have that big test. I know I'm being really wishy-washy with this.
Do I think they're the best team? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think we will get a lot of information based on today. I think up against FPX and OMG, two teams sort of right at the edge of playoffs, we'll get a big read, right? If they can stomp these teams, then I think we can sort of give some more merit to the standing. But those last 2 weeks, those four powerhouses they have to face, that will be the big test, the big challenge.
Honestly, that is going to be either a nightmare for AL doing those 4 games, or it will be like the awakening where we discover what AL are really made of. Nice little ward here from Forge onto the Raptors. They'll be able to spot Clid out as he passes towards the bottom side. You see Xiaohao also going down towards the bottom side, missing his Krugs though, so he's already there on his Grok.
Yeah, and it does look like Clid should be able to get first move on the Skull if he wants to here. He has the bot priority in this situation, so if Hung and Lwx wanted to move up, they could. But it looks like he actually just clear out that ward, so some good sort of understanding, just because they tracked Forge's move over there. Make sure he's not spotted on his Raptor timer, because often if you have vision of the Raptors, you get the exact timer. It really sets you up easily to be able to invade when it respawns.
Yeah, it certainly does, but nicely done, as you say, by Clid to kind of just hold off on that one, go to the red buff. Now look towards the Scuttle Crab that's about to spawn. Xiaohao just finishing his blue buff off as well. Will be ever so slightly late to the party, though, and it means that Clid is able to just grab that one for himself. Decides he wants to move in, drops a pillar onto Xiaohao, but Xiaohao not interested in this one. Now the race towards top side, but then maybe Clid will just go towards his chickens.
Yeah, I mean, I think you want to pick up your Raptors, get them on the respawn timer. You have Prio top, and I believe the wave is bouncing back mid, so I think you're not super concerned. This is one of the things, though. Wukong did have his clear nerfed, and he's still been very prevalent in the meta. But you can kind of see the effect sometimes. He is not the fastest clearer. Now, I mean, he wasn't the fastest before, but it's definitely a pretty solid hit. And you see moments like this where, you know, you can get an edge on him, get to the Scuttle first, put him a bit behind. And if Wukong's still fantastic in skirmishes, so if he finds those fights, he will be able to snowball. But you can't really just rely on clearing through the jungle to get ahead.
Yeah, it does need to be a little more proactive. And speaking of proactivity, ZDZ trying to go aggressive on Summit, but doesn't quite find the stun, doesn't quite find the true damage either. Xiaohao in the wings here, but look at that. Blue pings on towards the monkey. It feels like FPX have just read Xiaohao like a book this game.
Yeah, doing a good job so far. And if they can shut down Xiaohao and allow Clid to play more aggressively, if he can be the one setting the pace, that's going to go really well. And especially in this bot lane, you know, we've seen Lwx and Hung basically be in this position for the entire laning phase, up at the tower of AL, harassing and hopefully trying to get some plates as we go forwards. The worst thing that could happen in this situation is you get ganked, especially moments like that where Lwx is dashing into trade. So having a good read of where Xiaohao is allows you to play the matchup like this.
Yeah, and it's so crucial as well as ZDZ once again trying to get aggressive up on the top side. Some good trades there onto Summit. It's really once you hit the level 6 on that Camille, you wait for the mini Nath to come out, look for the all-in. We'll be keeping our eyes on ZDZ when that occurs. I do want to talk a little more about this bottom lane though, Aux, because for Lwx and Hung, you know, when this duo first started earlier on in the year, people knew Hung as like this Leona player, right, that would just flash on cooldown. It feels good to see that I feel like this duo have really evolved over the course of this split, over the course of this year in general. Like, we see so much more from Hung than just hard engaged champions now. Like, Renata is his most played champion of the split. Feels like he's really evolved as a player.
I completely agree, and I feel like that sort of ability to lean on other champions is so huge, because we expected the meta to shift a bit with the durability changes, you know, enchanters to become more frequent, but that's kind of been a sore point for LPL supports for a long time, where, you know, some of them just seem so uncomfortable on enchanters, and Hung showing he is proficient in both styles. He can really do it all. And particularly, I remember like the Calista Renata games that they played earlier in the split, where they would be tower diving at level 2 before the enemy team would even hit level 1. Just such aggression that can come out from them, even when he is playing, you know, things like Renata, things like Nami, still looking to punish in laning phase and give the opponents no chance to breathe.
Yeah, showing that he doesn't need to be that tanky to pretend that he's on the owner, and just going to be helping out here in the jungle with Clid, just making sure that Clid can clear through without being spotted out the entire game. Has been a slow one to start off, but this was kind of expected, right? With a Viktor in the mid lane from the side of FPX against AL, a team that we know much prefer to focus later on into the game. But that's kind of my next question, Aux, is at what point do things really start to happen for AL? Because, you know, Wukong level 6, Taliyah level 6, these feel like big spikes to me.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. Those spikes can really allow you to start making more proactive plays. You know, you have Betty with the global ultimate as well to facilitate. So I think at that point, you can start leading to skirmishes a bit more and look to contest. And particularly around these neutral objectives. Herald's going to be up in a minute. I expect that to be a point of contention, because right now we look at the bot lane and there hasn't really been too much of a lead. No plates taken for FPX's bot lane as much as they were pushing up the tower. And the fact that you have a melee with
Oh, big damage onto Betty. Ignite burned as well. And honestly, FPX are going to be happy with that one. They burnt their heal for an Ignite. I think they'll take that trade happily, especially with Drake on the map on that bottom side if they wanted to lean to that. But Clid wanted to make things happen simultaneously in the top side. ZDZ, though, he suspects something's up. He knows that he can't step up.
And he knows he doesn't need to. Look at the way he's going to push into him. So as long as he's not scared of a dive, which when Forge has level 6, you really should be okay, and you're full HP as well. You know you're just going to be able to catch his wave. So Clid does offer that assistance and is now looking towards the Herald to go for the neutrals. And look at the bot lane. We can see Lwx and Hung start to make the move up, but they are being matched. So we may well get a skirmish come out over this, but Herald's already getting pretty low and Xiaohao's not there yet.
Yeah, and remember, FPX, they're the early birds in this matchup. They're the ones that are used to fighting over Heralds. Here we go. Xiaohao gets the steal, and now they look for a kill onto Clid as well. Low HP, but Xiaohao low himself, and it's answered by Forge. Now Forge getting chased down. Big damage from the laser. Lwx flashes out to safety. Betty trying to peel for Chocho, but he's just not tanky enough, and there's a Gnar from Summit to finish the kill.
So more kills for FPX, but AL, the fact they stole the Herald is an absolute win there. Xiaohao able to pick it up before he dies, and you know, I don't think FPX really get anything more out of this, so a big win for AL. They will absolutely take that one, but it does come down to how effectively they manage to use that Herald. You know, if they're taking a full tower with it, then for sure they traded up in that, and we'll be able to get a replay here. So just the fact that, you know, Xiaohao makes this initial move, gets the smite, focus onto Clid, and they just delete him from the game. And sure, they lose one in return, and then we have this extended trade that does go in favor of FPX, but I just love the target selection from AL. Take out one target immediately, guarantee at least get one kill in the trade and the Herald, and then you know you're in a good position.
Yeah, it just felt like Forge had little to no influence on that one. He managed to get his flick onto Care through the entire Unraveled Earth and did about 100 damage. It was, you know, not the most impactful ability I've ever seen. Oh no, cannon goes down. ZDZ absolutely good on that one. Nice stun by Summit to deny a little CS. And speaking of, let's kind of recap where we're at in the game in terms of numbers right now, because it's a minor lead for FPX, but that should be limited, if not taken over, by anyone's legend. They're the ones that are going for the Drake right now, and when you look at them statistically, one of the highest Drake percentages in the entire league. That's including the very top teams. So AL kind of living up to that reputation, and we'll see where they're going to go with that Herald to bolster one of these lanes.
And it really puts FPX in an uncomfortable spot because if they end up getting caught out, which Clid might
Clid's
be.
in trouble. That's a root. That's a lot of damage coming out from the center. Dawning Shadow flashed away by Clid, but now he's stuck in the right. Wait a second! Clid just jumps on down on a bit of monkey leg. Gets himself a nice little snack as Forge, now trying to chase onto Care. He's stuck under the tower, but he can't actually get away. Nice little flank from Jojo, and a great fight from AL.
Yeah, but the thing I will say is they take down Xiaohao, which means he's the one with Herald in pocket. Imagine that player Xiaohao survives. You can guarantee Herald have been thrown down mid, a bunch of plates taken. So Clid trading there actually very important. And in the bot lane, we see a big wave pushed in. We see Lwx and Hung take a plate. Definitely still favored for AL, don't get me wrong, but it could have been a lot worse for FPX if they weren't able to take down the Wukong.
Yes, feels like every single fight so far this game has been neck and neck, right? Where we're trading 2 for 1 each time. Lwx and Hung didn't get involved in that previous play, so they were able to get a plate for themselves down in the bottom lane. And now with the Gale Force there as well, up against Betty, who has that Umbral Glaive, it feels like this is going to be a tense next couple of minutes with the Wukong ultimate available, with Taliyah's Weaver's Wall available. It could all come down to this bottom lane.
And I feel like for the Lucian Nami as well, Hung hasn't quite hit the Imperial Mandate spike. That's the big one when both have their one item. Often we talk about an AD carries item spikes, but the Lucian syncs so well with the Nami. So the Lucian Nami syncs so well together. The Nami spikes are actually really important as well. And we do eventually get the Herald going mid. Often we see this, you know, just get a couple of plates mid, set the tower up to be punished later. And they should just get the charge. Okay. Yeah. So a little bit too healthy.
I saw Clid coming in, and I was like, oh my god, it was still on like 2k HP with no eye available, so it wasn't gonna happen. But you know, you can't blame me for getting a little excited. Xiaohao will get that gold as Summit. Takes a bit of damage from ZDZ, and again, this matchup ain't getting any easier for Summit at this point.
Yeah, Divine Sundra hit for ZDZ, and we did talk about this a little bit earlier. I'll just have a bit more healing, a bit more base damage, but the percent HP nerfed, so maybe with Gnar, who ends up being very bulky and Mega Gnar, maybe a little bit weak, it's hard to scope out. But ultimately, that's the main thing with the Camille. She is going to scale up to be a monster, you know. And overall, the state of the game, I think AL are pretty happy with. You know, they're even in gold. They have this Senna Tahm that's going to scale exceptionally. The Lucian Nami hasn't taken over. As much as they've had pressure in the lane, it hasn't really manifested into anything yet.
No, not just yet. And we'll see if it will. And FPX, I'm getting a little bit nervous for them. Because when we see them play, like we said before, fastest average game time in the entire league. We'll see if they can pull off this kind of team fight style that they've drafted towards, with Care having that Viktor. Look at this, though. Clid waiting in the wings of the bottom lane. Jojo playing it safe so far. He really wants to go for that CS, but he's not going to do it. Won't commit. Still has Deep Water Dive available as well, so he'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's so scary because if you get pillared by the Trundle, if you try to deep water dive to get past it, which is, you know, what you'd obviously want to do, you just gonna get bubbled instantly. So yeah, avoids that pressure. And this just kind of feels like a repeated thing, you know, not too much pressure being able to be achieved in this bot lane, kind of stagnating in that regard. And I just think the fact that they weren't able to get that first Herald really slowed down FPX. Now we do have the second Herald coming up in 30 seconds, and ZDZ is looking.
Our ultimate comes out from Summit here as the rest of the team comes in. Weaver's Wall down. Summit low on HP, Dawning Shadow, but Forge didn't go along his Weaver's Wall.
Yeah, I think he saw the TP and he just didn't think it was worth going for.
ZDZ doesn't commit. Care goes straight over the wall, 2v1, and forces a flash out. Care turns out pretty scary on his Viktor, and AL definitely scared of him.
And I think this should give enough pressure for FPX just to pick up this Herald. You know, you chunked out AL, you managed to be in that flash on top of that. It does mean if you look at the bot lane, AL are leaving their duo there, and they're going to try and take some plates. So, I mean, sorry, plates are gone. They're going to try and take some damage onto this tower. Definitely a trade-off in that regard, but FPX showing up in force to secure that second Herald.
We certainly have. It's dead even in gold, though, right now, Aux. This has been a very close, very quiet early game as Summit getting TP'd on here. Xiaohao in the wings as well. It looks like CDZ won't commit to actually going for the play. Just trying to stop the wave and trying to get that CS. So still dead even in the game. It's been a quiet one. 5 seconds until the Drake comes up. AL the first ones to get a Drake this game.
Yeah, and FPX really want the second one, because if they want Soul to be a win condition or they want AL to be far away from it, you really don't want to give them 2 early dragons. They have the Herald if they want to use that for pressure in a lane to make it happen. But honestly, if we look at the reset timings coming in, Eddie and QiuQiu are just leaving base now. Forge just reset on top of that. They're in no position to contest this, and this should just be second dragon picked up by FPX, which is, you know, we saw first Herald, first dragon for AL, second dragon, second Herald for FPX. And as you said, the goal's been a very even, so feels neck and neck so far in this game.
Yeah, it certainly does. I will say that the gold at the top doesn't feel that representative of the gold on the actual scoreboard so far this game. Because when you look at the lanes, I'm just going to hold that thought for a second as the tower will go down. Looks like there will be no fight. And when you look at the lanes like ZDZ having that kill up over Summit, and he's got the 2 assists. Forge having a small advantage over Care in the mid lane as well. Betty scaling up on this Senna, and you know, the Lucian Nami not really able to have that much of an effect yet, and granted, they ain't going to fall off anytime soon. That Lucian still will be devastating later on. But I feel like we need to see a little bit more out from FPX in the short term if they want to find an advantage.
I think this is the point, right? I was talking about the one-item spikes between the bot lane duo of the Lucian Nami. This is a moment where Lucian has enough burst to just nuke anyone he gets onto. You have the extra dash, so you can like Gale Force culling someone, and you can kind of use that to play around, like look for picks, look for, you know, early kills in a skirmish to find an advantage. We're at a point where, you know, it's 3.5 minutes, no, 4 minutes honestly, until the next dragon. It's going to be about taking those structures, and I really want to see FPX open up the map with the Herald being used. Right now, they're looking to get this top tower without using it, which I think is a great call, because if they can get this tower, they trade it off for the one in the bot lane, and you look to use that second Herald in the mid lane tower. If you take that one, you can expand your vision a bit deeper, and anyone who tries to walk up to contest mid prio, that's where the Lucian can dash in and just look to burst them out and find a pick.
And that'll be the big moments that we're looking for in this game, is when you look at, obviously, the Lucian burst that you just talked about, but also Viktor, when you can Chaos Storm on top of that. There's something literally Gnars, then mini Krugs right there, just to get the 4 CS for himself. Fair play to you. You know, the burst that is available from this FPX squad is terrifying. So, AL, it will be down to not mispositioning, not going too deep. Because, you know, going too deep is something that, you know, Camille definitely has been known to do in the past. The Taliyah, if you use the Weaver's Wall wrong, definitely can overextend. So, AL will have to play it cautiously. But I feel like that's the area of expertise for AL, honestly. When you look at the way that they play as a unit, right? When they're in team fights together, when they're in skirmishes together, the coordination and the synergy, they just always seem so important.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think for both sides, it needs to be this game. Anyone who missteps is so easily going to be punished in this one. But we do see FPX going for that mid lane tower, as I'd hoped they would. And there's a flank coming in.
Oh, everybody over the Weaver's Wall, though. Will mean that the mid lane tower does survive. The eye popped there as Betty just grabs himself a few souls for his trouble. But AL want to keep this one going. Clid the target. Won't be knocked up for now, but will be knocked back there. Xiaohao now elects into the ultimate himself. Cleared low. Dawning Shadow to finish him off. Care now moving forward as Lwx gets the burst onto Forge. Gale Force forward. Betty alone, but flashes out to safety. QiuQiu saves the day on the Taliyah, and it's Lwx that went too deep this time around. Hung caught in a Hextech ultimatum, but ZDZ doesn't have the damage. He's gone too deep as well. It's pure chaos in this fight as QiuQiu throws a lick towards Care. There's a root as well. Can they get the fight back? Doesn't look like it, because Summit is here to clean house. The boomerangs are flying, and it's an easy kill onto QiuQiu.
And AL, it felt like they had the fight in hand. They had the advantage. They even managed to take out Lwx, but just massive oversteps at the end. ZDZ, not sure what he was going for there, and Forge as well, disrespecting the Gnar. Now, Summit doing what he can and try and look. Yeah, trying to find Xiaohao, but won't be able to. Overall, FPX managed to come out ahead, but like this fight feels so favored towards AL at first because they commit onto the Trundle and they basically manage to take him out without really suffering any casualties, although they do obviously burn a lot of cooldowns. But then Lwx goes aggressive here and gets punished quite heavily, chunks Forge out, but we see Xiaohao returning and take him. And at this point, I feel like, okay, fight is pretty clearly in favor of AL. And then ZDZ, I don't know. No reason for you to go over the wall there. Clearly disrespecting the fact that Summit was there. He definitely had vision of him walking past before, so just a big mistake. And then here, Forge trying to take out Care. Once again, it's like the Gnar is invisible. He's not a stealth champion, but AL just forget he exists.
I feel like this is a classic case of, you know, it's mini Gnar, therefore we don't have to worry about it. But someone's like, look, I've still got a boomerang. I've still got my hyper procs. I'm still going to take you down. Takes 2 kills for himself. Almost got the triple as well. But now, Drake spawning once again in 10 seconds, Aux, and I feel like both teams really want this one.
Hung just got picked, I think. We were 6-5 at the end of that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to get
he's
picture in
currently
picture.
dead, right? So.
Yeah, looks like he just overstepped and got caught by the CC. Nice knockback as well. So, yeah, good pick to set up AL for this next objective. But we just seen QiuQiu get chunked out, so...
yeah, QiuQiu's like, anything you can do, I can do better. Has to go back to base himself. So the advantage AL had may be gone at this point, as Betty just going to use his sustain. QiuQiu trying to return to the play here. In comes Clid from the side. Forge could be a target. Good chunk onto him. But manages to step out of the gravity well. Summit moving forward, about to turn Mega Gnar. This is an opportunity for a mid lane tower here for FPX. And AL, health bar's low. I feel like maybe they just have to give the Drake.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to posture for it. Remember, they have the sustain from the Senna to try and help them out. And Mega's going to time out. That could be a window for them. Summit playing very aggressively here, trying to find an avenue. But yeah, Mega times out. And FPX have to be cautious now.
Could just be a steal situation. Xiaohao in the pit right now. Clid trying to find his way in, but on Trundle, not the easiest champion to muscle into the pit with. Drake taken, AL go in, Xiaohao. Big damage across the team with the Dawning Shadow, but just gets popped. In the meantime, Care will go down. ZDZ saved by QiuQiu, but QiuQiu can't even save himself. ZDZ over the wall with a hookshot wall dive. Forge flashes out to safety. It's 2 for 1 so far, but FPX wants some more. Weaver's wall out to safety. But Forge, what have you done? He's corralled his teammates into the fight. ZDZ will fall. Lwx just reigning supreme as Clid burns down the enemy. And that was disastrous from Forge.
Forge, cancel the wall, please. Just left them in there. Jailed his own teammates. Like, take them, not me. And FPX managed to clean up so effectively in that fight. Lwx basically untouched. And, you know, this fight is unnecessary fail. They already got the dragon, yet they opt into it. And look at Care. Knocked up, knocked back, but still survives to get his combo out in return. And though he eventually goes down, so much was burned by AL. And look at Lwx constantly in this fight, just moving forwards, avoiding the Unraveled Earth, but able to chase down all these targets. And here, you know, not only the wall, but the pillar as well. Painful for AL, honestly. Not the coordinated team play we typically expect of them.
No. You know, Betty's there, stuck against the wall. Like, it still won't help you outrun the lion. Unfortunately, I don't have to outrun the lion. I just have to outrun you. And then goes back in and dies as well. So, you know, the moral of the story, the fable here is that cancel your Weaver's wall.
Yep. Look at that damage, by the way, from Forge there. Did almost 5,000. I mean, buff Taliyah was already pretty strong. But in those extended fights, they will just do so much with the constant.
It's a really interesting strategy, actually, right? You pen your teammates in, so the enemy is distracted with killing your teammates, so you can bolster your damage numbers. It's a strong little strategy coming out from Forge. I'll stop hammering on the Mistle there. Baron is on the cards though now, Aux, and I feel like both teams starting to lean towards that. FPX though with a sizable advantage now. Most of this game, it was very even. FPX now about 5,000 gold up. It feels like they're the ones in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and it feels like a lot of that gold is on Lwx. If you look, 3 full completed items on that Lucian. That is pretty scary. With the Sorello's Grudge as well. Items. Yeah, you're culling. I mean, you already had the Nami empowerment to make that slow, but you're just going to shred anyone. So I think AL, in the position you're in now, you have that second dragon. It means that FPX are a long way away from Secure Soul. You kind of just need to play slow and not let FPX take any fights right now, because they will demolish you if they manage to find a team fight right now. Yeah. So slow the game, pace of the game now. Just make sure they're not doing Baron. That's essentially the protocol for them.
Yeah, I like the Shroud's Grudge as well. As you say, the slow going to be there, but also kind of like Lwx realizing that QiuQiu is going to be in his face every single fight. ZDC going to be trying to get on top of him. Needs to be able to get through that Death Dance. Needs to be able to get through the Frostfire Gauntlet. There on the Tahm Kench as well. Ward's coming out. Clid a little too far forward. Dodges the knockup, but still takes half of his HP as damage. Hung, though, has a bit of sustain. By both teams, reasonable amount of sustain in this one as Care moves forward. Clid will smite the red buff. Will he survive it? Yes, he will, because AL are in full retreat. Not interested in fighting this one, and I can understand why. The tidal wave across the Clid pulled back in, Dawning Shadow there, but there's just no damage coming out from AL.
Yeah, and you don't want to be fighting there. In that little choke point, that brush, it's so devastating if the pillar is there or the gravity field. They now want to check the Baron, but look, Chocho's just dead.
Oh, Chocho, not the way to go right there. Need to stay with his team. And, you know, they need to, as you say, need to know if the Baron is gone, but there's
look,
a blue
there's
trinket ward.
There's a ward, yeah. Well, I mean...
So, I take it back. They didn't need to check at all. Just a meaningless death there from Chocho. And now a potential opportunity for FPX. I don't think they realize Baron is warded because they're trying to bait it. Okay, there we go. Ward is gone now. Resets will come out across the board here. Drake up in 45 seconds. That is the sliver of hope here for AL at this stage.
I honestly feel like you just give this Drake. I feel like you're too far behind. The fights are too difficult. Senna is down 2 levels. We often see Senna fall behind. They are giving Senna farm now and trying to get us some XP, which is something some teams haven't done, which has been when we've seen Senna be like 4 levels behind. But she's still very far down in items. She's got a decent amount of souls, but you really want to lean into that. So just give up the dragon. I don't mind if they're just in the vicinity to like contest pressure, but I don't want you to fight it for AL. You're so far behind. Best case scenario is you get some vision in the Baron area, and then it just stalls out FPX from doing that objective.
Yeah, just try and deny the double objectives here. But FPX are just saying, you know what? Screw the neutral objectives. If you're going to go and deal with that, we'll just send 3 people mid, push the wave, and take a free tier 2. And then we can retreat to the Drake, because we've got pressure in the bottom side as well, with Care pushing up on the Viktor. He's having a great performance on this Viktor pick as well. Does need to be a little cautious. The Weaver's Wall and Chocho nearby as well. Doesn't want to overextend too much, but he will back away. Just head over to the Gromp instead. Just grab himself as much gold as he could possibly find. And that's a Drake taken. As you say, AL just going to back away and not contest for the time being. So we kind of reset to a quiet point, and AL, they need to kind of show us what they're made of right now, right? This is the team that we said coming into things. They're the team that's going to be wanting to play for the later team fights. They're the team that's going to want to coordinate as a 5-man unit and work later on. Well, we've got to that later stage now, and it's not looking like they really can contest anything.
Yeah, they just need more time. And if they get picked off, if someone oversteps, if someone makes a mistake, that could be the window for FPX to take Baron, and that's when the game may not be salvageable. So they need to do a difficult task. Stop FPX from ever doing the Baron while also not losing a team fight when they're this far ahead of you. And Forge, playing with fire, they're going.
In he goes, straight on towards Hung, wants to kill the Nami, wants a bit of sushi. But in the meantime, his monkey friend has gone down. Lwx chasing for Betty, gets him low, flashes forward. Lwx, he wants blood and he'll find it. Summit taking down Forge, a clean ace for FPX.
And death timers are long. There should just be enough with 5 members up for FPX to take game 1. And honestly, the early game was pretty even, but as soon as it got to that mid game, FPX just took over, completely crushed this one. And AL, I'm not sure what the plan was with the engage there, but they never really looked like they got a look in after they fell behind.
Yep, beautiful stuff here from FPX. Kind of dominant, honestly. And we were concerned when we saw the draft, when we saw the Viktor in the mid lane. That was not like the standard that we're used to from FPX, but it works out anyway. The wave clear, the denial of pressure from AL from that mid lane. And once it got to the coordinate team play, it just felt like FPX totally on the same page the entire game.
And I don't understand the decision in going for that final fight. Like, we actually saw ZDZ ult the Nami, but was like basically next to tower when that happened. So not the best target, and also not the best position to go for it. It kind of just felt like they said, look, it's game 1. We still have a series. If we lose this, let's just try and all in on a fight. If it fails, it fails. But yeah, that didn't really seem like it had much chance of going in the right direction. And now AL have to bounce back into game 2. And yeah, I think FPX doing a fantastic job of not giving over any windows and performing the skirmishes. I said I thought the Lucian would struggle in these fights. You know, you're a short-range carry. There's a Taliyah on the other side. The Unraveled Earth is a pain for Lucian because you have to like navigate around it. If you dash through it, you're just going to get stunned and chunked. And it never really felt like there was an issue. Lwx paladin the pick masterfully. Yeah. And I was saying how the priority has dropped. Lucian Nami is not being played nearly as much. You know, coming out in the start of summer, it was like 100% red side ban for Lucian or close to. And now it's kind of like, you know, barely seen. but LWX showing what you can do when piloted correctly, what you can do when you get, enough of a lead in the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, when they've managed to find these advantages, and Summit having a great game on that Gnar as well. Like, we saw him get counterpicked, still able to survive the laning phase, still able to work towards the later stages, still able to find some good Gnar ultimates as well. I especially like the one on the mini Krugs. I think that was the highlight for me, managing to find himself, what is that, 52 gold? Not too shabby, not too shabby. But yeah, ultimately, fantastic game from FPX. LWX in the team fights as well. That Lucian during that final team fight, absolutely beautiful to watch.
I mean, look at the damage that came out. But Summit as well on the Gnar, really fantastic performance. It felt like there was that big fight in the mid game where it was sort of looking AL favored, and Summit just cleaned up, was disrespected when he was in mini Gnar. But yeah, you can see with the goal graph, not like an immediate upward rise. It took a while, but eventually FPX just grabbed hold of the game and never let it go again.
Yeah, I feel like ZDZ is going to have a call from his parents anytime now for anyone that missed that. He posted on Weibo that apparently he had a whole bunch of missed calls from his mum trying to tell him how to play his Kennen the other day. So hopefully mum has some tips on the Camille as well after that game, because ZDZ maybe needs it.
Yeah, why you open the Nami? That would be...
Don't flash over the wall.
Yeah. So, not the best play we've seen from AL for sure, but FPX showing why the expectation was they'd bounce back from the difficult start of the season, right? Why, even though they faced some of the stronger teams and were in that hole, I think 1-5, they've really managed to have a big resurgence.
Yep, they certainly have, and they're looking to keep that ball rolling. We'll see if they can in game number 2